The Maliki madhhab is one of the schools of fiqh or religious law within Sunni Islam. It was founded by Malik bin Anas and it considers the rulings from ulema from Medina to be sunnah. Its adherents reside mostly in North Africa, West Africa, Kuwait, Bahrain, in some parts of Saudi Arabia, Oman and other Middle Eastern countries, and parts of India. The Murabitun World Movement also follows the Maliki school. In the past, it was also followed in parts of Europe under Islamic rule, particularly Islamic Spain and the Emirate of Sicily. One of the greatest historical centers of Maliki teaching, especially during the 9th, 10th and 11th centuries, is the Mosque of Uqba. History: although Ibn Anas himself was a native of Medina, his school faced fierce competition for followers in the Muslim East, with the Shafi'i, Hanbali and Zahiri schools all enjoying more success than Malik's school. It was eventually the Hanafi school, however, that earned official government favor from the Abbasids. The Malikis enjoyed considerably more success in the Muslim West. Under the Umayyads and their remnants, the Maliki school was promoted as the official state code of law, and Maliki judges had free reign over religious practices. In return, the Malikis were expected to support and legitimize the government's right to power. This dominance in Andalus from the Umayyads up to the Almoravids continued, with Islamic law in the region dominated by the opinions of Malik and his students. The Sunnah and Hadith, or prophetic tradition in Islam, played lesser roles as Maliki jurists viewed both with suspicion, and few were well versed in either. The Almoravids eventually gave way to the predominantly Zahiri Umayyads, at which point Malikis were tolerated at times but lost official favor. With the Reconquista, the Iberian Peninsula was lost to the Muslims in totality. Although Al-Andalus was eventually lost, the Maliki has been able to retain its dominance throughout North and West Africa to this day. Additionally, the school has traditionally been the preferred school in the small Arab states of the Persian Gulf. While the majority of Saudi Arabia follows Hanbali laws, the country's eastern province has been known as a Maliki stronghold for centuries. Principles: the Maliki school derives from the work of Malik ibn Anas, primarily the Muwatta Imam Malik and the Mudawwana. The Muwatta to the first A is a collection of hadiths which are regarded as sound and find their place in Sahih al-Bukhari with some commentary from Malik regarding the practices of the people of Medina and where the practices are in compliance with or in variance with the hadiths reported. This is because Malik regarded the practices of Medina to be a superior proof of the living sunnah than isolated, although sound, hadiths. The second main source, the Mudawwana, is the collaborator work of Malik's longtime student, Ibn Qasim and his mutual student, Sunun. The Mudawwana consists of the notes of Ibn Qasim from his sessions of learning with Malik and answers to legal questions raised by Sawyan Nawan in which Ibn Qasim quotes from Malik, and where no notes existed, his own legal reasoning based upon the principles he learned from Malik. These two books, that is the Muwatta to the first R and Mudawwana, along with other primary books taken from other prominent students of Malik, would find their way into the Muqta to the first Aqala L, which would form the basis for the later Maliki madhhab. When forced to rely upon conflicting authenticated hadiths to derive a ruling, Malikis would then choose the hadith that has a Medinan origin, meaning the transmitter, S, resided in Medina. To summarize, in the Maliki madhhab the living sunnah of the Salaf of Medina substantiates the single reported hadith, not the other way around. This is probably what distinguishes the Maliki madhhab the most from the Shafi'i, a currency Hanbali, and a currency Hanafi madhhab respectively. This source, according to Malik, sometimes supersedes hadith, because the practice of the people of Medina was considered living sunnah, inasmuch as Muhammad migrated there, lived there and died there, and most of his companions lived there during his life and after his death. The result is what would appear to be a much more limited reliance upon or to the first pound or delta yen hadiths than is found in other schools, but in actuality, serves to strengthen hadiths related to actual practice. Malik was particularly scrupulous about authenticating his sources when he did appeal to them, however, and his comparatively small collection of or delta hadith, known as al-Muwatta to the first the approved, is highly regarded. Malik is said to have explained the title as follows: I showed my book to 70 jurists of Medina, and every single one of them approved me for it, so I named it the Approved. Differences: Maliki considers ulema to be compulsory. Malikis say nothing during the kneeling position in prayer. The Maliki school considers admission in a court of law to be divisible. That is, a plaintiff could accept some parts of a defendant's testimony while rejecting other parts. This position is also held by the Hanafi school, though it is opposed by Zahiris and the majority of the Hanbalis. Notable differences from other schools: the Maliki school differs from the other Sunni schools of law most notably in the sources it uses for derivation of rulings. All schools use the Quran as primary source, followed by the prophetic tradition of the Prophet Muhammad, transmitted as hadiths. In the Maliki school, said tradition includes not only what was recorded in hadiths, but also the legal rulings of the four rightly guided caliphs, especially Umar. Malik bin Anas himself also accepted binding consensus and analogical reasoning along with the majority of Sunni jurists, though with conditions. Consensus was only accepted as a valid source of law if it was drawn from the first generation of Muslims in general, or the first, second or third generations from Medina, while analogy was only accepted as valid as a last resort when an answer was not found in other sources. Malik was reported to have only actually used analogy himself one time, which he regretted on his deathbed. The Maliki school, in addition, relies heavily upon the practice of the people of Medina as a source, composed of the first, second, and later generations of Muslims. This is because the Maliki school views those Medinans' collective practice, along with the derivative rulings, to be mutawatir, or known and practiced by so many people that it can only be a prophetic tradition. In other words, the practices of the first three generations of Muslims who resided in Medina form the normative practice of the living tradition that was preserved from Muayyan Ahmad. The remaining Sunni Muslim schools of law, while maintaining respect for the people of Medina, do not concur with the heavy weight granted by the Maliki school, setting the latter apart. Prayer, also see, Salat. There are slight differences in the preferred methods of to the first pound al-ati, or prayer, in the Maliki school. Qiyam, the dominant position is to leave the hands to dangle at one's sides during prayer. Some commentators have said that Imam Malik prayed this way because his arms were dislocated due to the public lashing he received as mentioned above. The actual reason for this practice, that is sadal, being the dominant position in the school was when Sufyan Nawawi asked Ibn Qasim about the hadith of placing the right hand over the left mentioned and the mu'ay to the first Ibn Qasim quoted Imam Malik as saying, I do not know of this practice in the obligatory prayer, however it is allowed in the supererogatory prayers if the standing has been prolonged. The common sunnah practice of joining the hands beneath the chest right hand over left, does not invalidate the prayer, since leaving the hands down is a recommended act. Looking straight ahead at eye level during the standing and sitting parts of the prayer, rather than looking down towards the place of prostration. There is no consensus on this point, with many famous Maliki scholars holding that one should look at the place of prostration. However, these are minor points related to concentration and humility before Allah, and in any case, one's posture should not be compromised. Not reciting any supplications before the Fatiha in obligatory prayers. Tashahhud, turning the right-handed fist onto its side and the right index finger is moved from side to side. Qunut is to be recited only in the morning prayer. Malikis don't say anything during the kneeling position of prayer. Notable Maliki S. Yahya al-Laythi, Andalusian scholar, introduced the Maliki school in Al-Andalus, Sanun, Sunni jurist and author of the Mudawwana, one of the most important works in Maliki law, Ibn Abi Zayd, Sunni jurist and author of the Risala, a standard work in Maliki law, Yusuf ibn Abd al-Barr, Andalusian scholar, Ibn Tashfin, one of the prominent leaders of the Almoravid dynasty, Ibn Ushd, philosopher and scholar, al-Qurtubi, Shib al-Din al-Qarafi, Moroccan jurist and author who lived in Egypt, Khalil ibn Ishaq al-Jundi, Egyptian jurist, author of Muqtazar. Ibn Battuta, explorer, Ibn Khaldun, scholar, historian and author of the Muqaddimah, Abu Ishaq al-Shatibi, a famous Andalusian Maliki jurist, Qadi Iyad, contemporary Malikis, Usman dan Fodio, founder of the Sokoto Caliphate, Ahmad al-Alawi, Algerian Sufi leader, Omar Mukhtar, Libyan resistance leader, Muhammad Ash-Sankiti, Abdelkader el-Jazari, Abdullah bin Bayya, Timothy Winter, British Muslim scholar, Muhammad ibn Abd al-Karim al-Khattabi, Moroccan resistance leader, Abu Abdullah Dilabu, Sherman Jackson, Hamza Yusuf. See also, Islamic schools and branches, list of Islamic scholars, the 7 Fuqaha of Medina, Sunni view of the Sahaba, Salat, Wudu, Adhan, Islamic views on sin, references. Further reading, Salado, Agostino, Maliki Fiqh, in Muhammadan History, Thought, and Culture, an Encyclopedia of the Prophet of God, edited by C. Fitzpatrick and A. Walker, Santa Barbara, ABC Clio, 2014. External links, Biography of Imam Malik, translation of Malik's Muwatta to the first R. Eshabuli's homepage, includes translations of a variety of important Maliki source texts, biographical summary of Imam Malik, French translations of a variety of important Maliki source texts, questions and answers about Islam and according to the Maliki school, several free online courses on Maliki Fiqh to download.